2006, when I went to Uganda for the first time, I met a girl named Grace, a young girl who looked like she hadn't had enough to eat, and she had this haunting look in her eyes. If I could get her to look at me even, she looked down most of the time. And it was very clear it was so hard for her to speak, and I didn't know what was behind that. But as her story began to come out, I began to realize that it wasn't because she was shy, it was because it was so difficult for her to tell her story. And she began to tell me about how she was abducted when she was 10 years old by the LRA. She was abused, she was traumatized, she began to tell me details of being trained as a soldier, and then it got worse when she was finally given to a senior commander as a wife. Finally, she was able to find a way to escape. By that time, she had a child by the name of Christopher, who she brought back home with her. She found that it was almost worse when she got home. She was stigmatized because she was a former rebel. And that was sort of the state that I found her in when I talked to her in 2006. The mission that I had set out to became very clear to me. I realized that I could never give Grace back her childhood that she had lost over these years that she'd been in the bush. But I also realized that if I could find a place where she could live safely and where she could heal from some of what she'd been through, that I could perhaps help to redeem that time that she had lost. And so in October of 2007, we opened up the Lukomi Center in northern Uganda, a place where we could bring girls like Grace. And I made sure that she was the first girl that we admitted to the center.
I'm called Akelo Grace. I'm a mother to children. I'm a daughter. I'm a wife to my husband. I'm a survivor, and truly I'm a child of God. At this juncture, I would like to share my past stories so that everyone can be encouraged to know that one can be transformed. Like myself, I did know I would be transformed up to this level. The nasty experiences I went through started when I was still young. I was abducted by the rebels, taken to the bush, went through a lot of hardships, but now God has helped me, and here I am. With the counseling I went through, now I'm able to share my life experience and to help other people. Now I'm happy to tell everyone that my story is just to encourage you to know that one can be transformed. I learned a lot of things from ChildVoice, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I'm happy before God. Thank you.
For over 10 years, ChildVoice has been investing in the future of war-affected children and youth like Grace through sustainable interventions, research, collaboration, and advocacy. We build therapeutic communities, a refuge for children and youth traumatized by conflict, war orphans, former child soldiers, or members of displaced families. Participants engage in a comprehensive array of activities designed to promote healing that include remedial education, life skills training, vocational training, income generation projects, and counseling. Our Christ-centered approach of forgiveness and reconciliation teaches students the power of forgiving others, forgiving themselves, healing from shame, and believing that they can and should be loved. While peace has returned to Uganda, the effects of war have left generations struggling to survive amid abject poverty. Today, there are 35 conflict zones around the world where children are growing up in the shadow of war. In recent years, the nature of armed conflict has resulted in even more threats to children. ChildVoice is working to expand its services to include war-affected children in South Sudan and beyond. There are so many ways that you can make an impact. Together, with God's love, we can continue to serve war-affected communities and see more lives transformed. Join us and help restore the voices of children silenced by war.